Hello, and thank you for joining us today for our virtual town hall for Palmdale residents. My name is Aurora Hernandez, and I'm a prevention coordinator with Pueblo Salud. Today, we're going to be talking about building an equitable community. Before we begin, I'd like to go over a few requests. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please write them in the chat box, and at the end of the presentation, I'll be having a Q&A, and I'll be able to go over those. One last thing, I ask you that you please mute your microphones just to avoid any audio issues. A little background about Pueblo Salud. Pueblo Salud is a nonprofit organization that is funded by LA County Department of Public Health, Substance Abuse and Prevention Control. We focus on environmental social justice issues, specifically related to alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs, and their impact on youth. Our mission is to improve social conditions of minority and impoverished communities within LA County by creating opportunities for self-empowerment. We provide the community with the knowledge, tools, and skills needed to shape their own environments. So how do we do it? The answer to that is simple. Policy. Policy can also be described as a law, regulation, or ordinance. There's a quote from the Nonprofit Association of Oregon that says, "Effective policy advocacy builds your capacity to achieve the greatest good for the greatest number of people and communities you serve." By advocating for policy change, we're able to reach and impact more people than we would if we were to provide direct services. We can impact an entire city's population consisting of thousands of people through the adoption and enforcement of policy. Why focus on policy in Palmdale? The answer to this question can be broken down into 4 reasons. The first 3 reasons can be described as our concerns, which I'll explain to you in more detail throughout the presentation. But basically, it comes down to high death and poor health rates in the Antelope Valley, too many businesses that sell alcohol and tobacco products in areas like zip code 93550, which also ties to high crime rates, and no enforcement of existing laws. The last blue bubble you see there is very important because it says this is our home too. And now the reason why this is important is because oftentimes the people that are offering solutions are not the people who are experiencing the problem. So the solution can sometimes miss the mark and sometimes may cause more harm than good. Just know that we are coming to you today as residents of Palmdale. Many of the problems that we're going to speak to you about are not just based on research, but also based on our own personal lived experiences. We're all raising families in zip code 93550, and we're taking this action to ensure the safety and health of our children. This is a detailed breakdown of the 3 main concerns I mentioned to you in the last slide. You'll be seeing this slide throughout the presentation as I go through each of the concerns. Let's focus first on our primary concern, which is the high death rates and very low health rates in the Antelope Valley. For many years now, we've been dying of diseases related to alcohol and tobacco consumption, lung cancer, emphysema, etc. It's not just the cause of death that's concerning to us though, but the rate of death as well. We're dying at a rate 31% higher than the county norm. That means that the county norm or average is 500 deaths. The Antelope Valley would have a rate of 655. 155 lives over the county norm. Now, think about the family, the community, the friendships that are connected to each of those lives. These high death and low health rates are very detrimental to us all. Every 2 to 3 years, the LA County Department of Public Health publishes a report called Key Indicators of Health. The most recent report was published in 2017. This report is a snapshot of the health of LA County population. It shows the overall trend of the county as a whole, and then it narrows its scope down to each of the 8 service planning areas, or SPAs as we call them. All of the SPAs are located on the map on the right, and Antelope Valley is SPA 1, which is the yellow that you see on the map. This table summarizes some of the findings that we made in this report. These health indicators listed here are ones for which Antelope Valley has surpassed the county norm, which is basically the average of all 8 service planning areas. The 2 highlighted rows you see are nearly double the county norm. So that's emphysema mortality rates and the percent of children ages 0 to 17 with current asthma. When speaking about health, it's important to remember that being healthy entails more than just our physical well-being. Our health is also determined by the environment in which we live, attend school, work, and play. These forces are also known as the social determinants of health, and they shape the conditions of our daily lives. Distribution of money, power, and resources, and factors like access to transportation, the type of businesses in our community, the safety of our neighborhoods, and even our jobs are all determinants of health. Everything that surrounds us shapes us. So when a community is marginalized and suffers disproportionately a public health and quality of life burden, it becomes an environmental social justice issue for us. These unfair and avoidable differences in health are what we call health inequities. This is a map that was published by Kaiser Permanente in their 2019 Community Needs Assessment. It illustrates the opportunity to live a long and healthy life. The red line you see going down the middle represents a 14 freeway, which separates the east of Palmdale from the west of Palmdale. The green indicates access to health resources and opportunity. The light blue represents limited access to the same kind of resources. And the dark blue areas you see, which are mostly on the east side of Palmdale, represent severely under-resourced communities across many of the social determinants of health. This illustrates that a person's opportunity to lead a long and healthy life can vary dramatically, neighborhood by neighborhood. Overall, residents living in the AV are in the 32nd percentile for health opportunity for all California residents. In effect, this means that nearly 70% of Californians have a greater opportunity to live a long and healthy life than residents living in the Antelope Valley. This is a flyer that came to us from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, and it says your address can play an important role on how long you live and how healthy you are. This underscores the connection between neighborhood conditions and health. The map that you see on the right illustrates the vastly different health outcomes experienced by residents living just a few miles away in the city of Palmdale. It shows two different census tracts, and down the middle of the map you see the 14 freeway, which, like I've mentioned earlier, separates the west side from the east side. The census tract on the left is Census Tract 9102.1, which belongs to zip code 93551. This census tract has a life expectancy of 83.6 years. 4 miles away, we find Census Tract 9104.02, which belongs to zip code 93550. This census tract has a life expectancy of 74 years. In this case, life expectancy differs by almost 10 years in neighborhoods that are only 4 miles away from each other. It's important that we all understand that to build a culture of health where we can all thrive regardless of where we live, there has to be equity from within our community, where every person has an equal opportunity to live the longest and healthiest life possible. Our second concern is the large number of businesses that are selling alcohol and tobaccos in areas like zip code 93550. Zip code 93550 has the largest number of businesses that sell alcohol and tobacco products, 2 to 3 times the number in other city zip codes. And it also has the highest rates of poverty, youth, and minority populations. There are census tracts in zip code 93550 that have crime 5 to 12 times the city average. Very much like the large quantities of alcohol, tobacco, and crime, many public schools are also located along or near the boulevard. The confluence of all these factors is what makes it an environmental social justice issue for us. This map was obtained from the California Board of Taxes and Fee Administration. As you can see, the majority of the businesses that sell tobacco are located very close to Palmdale Boulevard. According to data obtained from the city of Palmdale, displayed on the table above the map, there are currently 77 tobacco outlets in Palmdale. Of those 77, 20 of them are in zip code 93551, 42 of them are in zip code 93550, and 15 are in zip code 93552. Why is it that there are more than twice the number of tobacco outlets in zip code 93550 compared to 93551 and 93552? A report published by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention states that tobacco retail outlet density is higher in low-income and minority neighborhoods, and it fuels disparities in tobacco use and its associated health effects. This table shows the number of all the businesses that sell alcohol in Palmdale. On-sale outlets are businesses like restaurants that sell alcohol to consume on the premises. Off-sale outlets are places like liquor stores, gas stations, and convenience stores that sell alcohol to consume off the premises, alcohol that you take home with you. Our research and numerous studies have shown a strong correlation between alcohol outlets and violent crime, particularly off-sale outlets. Looking at the off-sale outlets down at the bottom table, we're not concerned so much with supermarkets. And the reason why is because supermarkets, whether they sell alcohol or not, they provide a service to the community that is beneficial to the health of the residents as well as the economy. A supermarket generates a plethora of employment opportunities, and it also offers a community access to healthier food. And they can obtain that from a gas station or a convenience store, for example. So looking at these type of businesses, convenience stores, gas stations, and liquor stores, why is it that zip code 93550 has 24 of these stores that are known to cause social harm, while zip code 93551 and 93552 each have 5? This also begs the question, why aren't there more supermarkets in zip code 93550, and what impact is this having on our community? This map was obtained from the city of Palmdale, and it shows all the alcohol outlets in the city as of the year 2020. Each triangle represents a business. This illustrates the statements I made about the concentration of these type of businesses along the boulevard. There's a cluster of alcohol outlets on the west side, which is Restaurant Row at the mall. Again, we are not concerned with restaurants and big box stores as much as we are about liquor stores. Our concern is Liquor Store Row, because these are the ones that are most harmful to our residents. Keeping this map in mind, I want to show you a map of our schools. This map was also acquired from the city, and it shows all the schools in Palmdale as of this year, 2020. All the squares that you see are the schools. All the triangles are the alcohol outlets. Some of these squares are so close to triangles that they're actually overlapping each other. This means that there's a school in very close proximity to a business that sells alcohol. Why must our children be exposed to these type of environments? And why must they grow up thinking that this is normal when just across the freeway, children are growing up with a very different experience that does not normalize alcohol and tobacco? What parent wants their children attending school and trying to learn near people who are consuming alcohol in public and loitering? We can't sit by the sidelines waiting for change, because change doesn't happen on its own. This map shows you the schools and alcohol outlets in Palmdale for the year 2015. This map came to us from a researcher at LA County Department of Public Health. The blue little flags you see are the schools, and the red triangles are the businesses that sell alcohol. This is very similar to the trend that we just saw in the maps, and that's because since 2015, not much has changed. As stated before, alcohol outlets are known to bring about another type of problem, and that is high crime rates. Now, what does Palmdale look like when you have schools overlaid with maps of alcohol outlets and crime? I'll show you. Here's the same map that I showed you previously, except that this one also shows crime. The blue bubbles represent relatively low crime rates, and the red ones represent high crime rates. We're putting alcohol outlets in communities that are already impacted by poverty. What happens when we put these businesses that attract so much crime near our children's schools? Our elected leaders are creating and exposing our children to this kind of environment and normalizing this kind of reality. To make this reality their idea of normal is detrimental, because they are now more likely to succumb to their environment and fall into destructive patterns of behavior. It's important that we fight for the future of our children so that this is not their future. We don't want them looking at maps from 2030 and seeing that 10 years down the road, change has yet to come. We have heard that crime is decreasing nationally and locally, and this is something we should all celebrate. Everybody benefits from lower crime, including businesses. But what I want to point out is that this is not a time to turn a blind eye to the trends that remain. This is a time-lapse video of crime in Palmdale for the past 6 months. There's a substantial amount of crime in the east side of Palmdale, near the boulevard. Most of the cases are domestic violence and aggravated assault, the two types of violent crime most associated with alcohol and tobacco outlet density. These crimes are crimes that residents of zip code 93550 are being exposed to, and the children are having to live through. So please, I urge you to look at the picture in its entirety and keep in mind that this crime drop is not experienced equally by everyone. The crime map shows crime in Palmdale for the past 3 weeks. It illustrates the trend of ongoing crime in East Palmdale. Our third concern is a lack of policy enforcement. An ordinance was passed in Palmdale in 2015 which, among other provisions, banned the sale of single-serve containers that are targeted to underage youth for the purpose of keeping youth safe. According to the ordinance, businesses are prohibited from selling certain types of alcohol products in single quantities. However, since 2015, it has never been enforced. When a similar ordinance was implemented in Lancaster several years ago, there was pushback from local brewers whose businesses relied heavily on the sale of single-serve containers. The data shows that underage youth are not drawn to brewery products, so we want to make it clear that these are not the products we are targeting. We are not trying to harm these businesses, and we are not anti-business. We are just pro-public health. What's the deal with single-serve containers, and what products are we targeting? Usually sold in single-serve containers, alcopops are particularly dangerous to adolescents because of their high alcohol content, ranging from 5% to 14%, and sometimes even 21%. Alcopops are fruity, sweet, carbonated malt beverages that mask the taste of alcohol and are relatively cheap to buy. Adolescent brains are still undergoing major changes and will not be done growing until age 25. We know that alcohol at an early age can have a lifelong impact on their brain's development and can cause alcoholism in later years. 2 of these drinks in a 2-hour period can be fatal for a teen. They are more popular with girls and boys, and the physical abuse of teens while intoxicated is quite high. To better understand the impact of the ordinance in our city, we conducted a survey of all off-sale alcohol outlets. For this survey, we visited all 63 businesses in Palmdale. Of the 63 businesses that were surveyed, 90% of them still sold alcopops, while 30% of them were not even aware that the ban was in effect. This is a picture from our environmental scan, taken in March of 2020. The fridge, labeled singles, contains all of their single-serve containers. Notice how it's placed next to energy drinks, and the packaging is similar on both types of drinks, which can be very deceiving to youth and parents. We know what policies work. The problem is getting these policies adopted and getting these policies enforced. You would think that prioritizing our children's health and safety would be easy, but this has not been the case in Palmdale. This is going to be an uphill battle because it's going to entail pushing against some extremely powerful and pervasive economic interests, including those of the city, whose officials have consistently placed the interests of the business above the health and safety of our children. This is a picture of an article that was written a few months ago, when the city approved 2 alcohol sale permits in zip code 93550, despite community protests. These alcohol outlets were seen as desirable and beneficial to the community by elected and appointed officials. So this begs the question, will our city officials ever put the health and safety of our children before business interests? We need to change our communities, and in order to do that, we need to persuade decision makers to keep the health of our children at the forefront and to push for equity. We should expect nothing less from our elected and appointed officials. For more information or to join our Prevention Community Council, you can contact us via Facebook at PYS Palmdale, email at hernandez@pys.org, or by phone 661-208-4450. Thank you once again for joining us for our virtual town hall. I've included our sources here, and if you'd like more information on them, please feel free to contact us, and we'd be happy to provide you with that information.